I'm Melissa, 32, a financial advisor who spent years building perfect credit. My family and I were always close, at least that's what I thought, until I discovered they'd charged $30,000 on my credit cards for a luxury Bali vacation without my knowledge. That betrayal shattered my trust and left me with a devastating choice. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever had to make a tough choice between family loyalty and self-respect. Growing up in Boston, my childhood was what most would consider typically middle-class American. My parents, Patricia and Robert, worked hard to provide for me and my siblings. Mom was a dedicated elementary school teacher, and Dad managed a local hardware store. We never had extravagant things, but we never went without necessities either. Our modest two-story home in the suburbs was filled with love, laughter, and occasional financial stress, especially when it came time to pay for college. As the middle child between my older brother Kevin and younger sister Amanda, I quickly developed a reputation as the responsible one. While Kevin was the charismatic risk-taker and Amanda the creative free spirit, I was the planner, the saver, the one who worked part-time jobs throughout high school to build my college fund. My financial independence began early. I applied for every scholarship imaginable and graduated from Boston University with a business degree, carrying only minimal student loan debt, something I paid off within 3 years of graduating by living frugally and working overtime. My career in financial advising started as an intern at a small firm, but my natural aptitude for understanding money and helping others manage it propelled me forward quickly. By 27, I had secured a position at Meridian Financial Group, one of Boston's most prestigious financial advisory firms. My clients ranged from young professionals to wealthy retirees, all trusting me with their financial futures. The irony that I would later struggle to protect my own finances from those closest to me wasn't lost on me. My credit score became a point of personal pride, 834 last time I checked. I maintained 3 credit cards, each serving different purposes, one for everyday expenses, one for travel with excellent rewards, and one premium card with extensive purchase protections that I rarely used except for major purchases. I paid each balance in full every month, tracked every expense in a detailed spreadsheet, and reviewed my accounts weekly. Financial discipline wasn't just my career, it was my lifestyle. My relationship with my family remained close into adulthood, despite our different approaches to money. Mom retired from teaching but maintained her warm, nurturing personality, though she sometimes displayed an entitled attitude about deserving the finer things after years of sacrifice. Dad followed her lead in most things, his passive nature preferring peace over confrontation. After 40 years of marriage, he'd mastered the art of nodding along. Amanda, now 29, pursued her passion as a painter but struggled to make ends meet. Her studio apartment was filled with brilliant canvases, but often empty of groceries. I lost count of how many times I'd helped her cover rent or buy supplies, just until this gallery's showing. She had talent but lacked financial sense. Kevin, 35, appeared successful on the surface. His real estate business provided him a flashy lifestyle, expensive suits, a luxury condo downtown, and a leased Mercedes. What wasn't obvious to everyone else was his tendency to overextend himself, the constant refinancing, and the business loans he barely managed to repay. He projected success while constantly walking a financial tightrope. Family dinners at my parents' house every other Sunday became tradition. Between bites of Mom's lasagna or pot roast, they'd inevitably ask me financial questions. Melissa, what do you think about this investment opportunity? Or is this a good time to refinance the house? I genuinely enjoyed helping them, offering the same advice I'd give my paying clients. I believed my expertise was my contribution to the family. There were warning signs I chose to ignore. Like when Mom borrowed my everyday credit card to buy groceries but added in a $200 spa treatment. Or when Kevin asked to use my travel rewards card points for a business trip emergency but charged the hotel bar tab to the actual card. Each time, they'd apologize profusely, pay me back eventually, and I'd forgive them because that's what family does. My apartment reflected my practical nature, comfortable but not extravagant. A 2-bedroom in a secure building with good amenities, decorated in calming blues and grays. I splurged on quality furniture that would last rather than flashy decor. My home office contained the latest technology for client meetings, while my kitchen rarely saw use beyond making coffee and reheating takeout. Work kept me too busy for elaborate home-cooked meals. Tyler came into my life through a client referral 3 years ago. An architectural engineer with a similar approach to finances, he respected boundaries in all aspects of life. Our relationship progressed methodically, dating for 6 months before becoming exclusive, another year before discussing moving in together. We maintained separate finances with a single joint account for shared expenses, each contributing proportionally to our incomes. He understood my dedication to work and supported my career ambitions, never complaining about late nights or weekend client emergencies. Last spring, my hard work paid off with a significant promotion to senior advisor, managing high-net-worth client portfolios. The new position came with greater responsibility and required building relationships with international clients. When the opportunity arose to spend 2 weeks in Tokyo establishing connections with potential Japanese investors, I jumped at it. The timing aligned perfectly. Tyler was traveling for a major project in Chicago, and my family knew I'd be unavailable except for occasional texts. Those 2 weeks in Japan would change everything about my relationship with my family. Though I had no idea as I boarded the flight, excited about this new chapter in my career. The 14-hour flight from Tokyo to Boston left me exhausted beyond words. Between the severe jet lag, countless business meetings, and the stress of navigating a foreign culture while trying to impress potential clients, I was running on fumes by the time my plane touched down at Logan International Airport. All I wanted was to collapse into my own bed and sleep for days. During my time abroad, I'd received several credit card alerts on my phone. Nothing unusual there. The fraud detection systems were sensitive, and international travel often triggered them. I'd called to notify my card companies before leaving, so I dismissed the notifications as routine, planning to sort through them once I recovered from jet lag. There were dozens of emails and notifications to catch up on, but they could wait until I'd had a proper night's sleep. My apartment welcomed me with the stillness that comes from 2 weeks of absence. The air felt stale, and my ficus plant drooped sadly by the window. I dropped my luggage in the entryway, kicked off my uncomfortable business heels, and shuffled to the kitchen for water. The clock on the microwave showed 8:47 p.m., but my body insisted it was midday tomorrow. After a quick shower to wash away the airplane feeling, I wrapped myself in my favorite plush robe and decided to check my email before sleep claimed me. Professional habit wouldn't let me completely disconnect, even in my exhausted state. What if an important client needed something urgent? The first oddity I noticed was an emailed receipt for a purchase I definitely hadn't made, a thank you for your purchase, from a high-end resort in Bali. Confused, I opened it to find confirmation for a 2-week stay in their presidential suite. The amount made me blink twice to ensure fatigue wasn't affecting my vision. $12,000. Suddenly alert. I logged into my premium credit card account, the one I rarely used, with the highest limit for emergencies and major purchases. The balance, which should have been near zero, showed over $20. 000 in charges. My heart began racing as I clicked through to the transaction history. The list of charges told a horrifying story. First-class airline tickets to Denpasar International Airport in Bali, not just one ticket, but 5, totaling nearly $8,000. The luxury resort booking I just received an email confirmation for. Charges from high-end restaurants, spa services, scuba diving excursions, and island hopping tours totaling another $5,000. And perhaps most infuriating, shopping charges from designer boutiques and luxury goods stores approaching $5,000. My trembling fingers navigated to my other 2 credit cards. They too showed unusual activity, smaller but still significant charges clearly related to the same vacation. All told, the damages exceeded $30,000 across my 3 cards. My first instinct was to report fraud. Someone had clearly stolen my card information and was living it up in Indonesia. I reached for my phone and dialed the emergency number for my premium card, prepared to dispute every charge and request new cards immediately. The customer service representative was professional and sympathetic as I explained the situation, my voice rising with panic and exhaustion. Then came the bombshell. Ms. Richardson, I understand your concern, but I'm showing these charges were made by authorized users on your account. That's impossible, I insisted. I never authorized anyone to use this card. After verifying my identity, the representative continued. According to our records, you added Patricia Richardson as an authorized user 3 months ago. These charges appear to have been made with the physical card issued in her name. The room seemed to spin around me. My mother? How was that possible? Then the memory surfaced. Mom had struggled to navigate an online purchase for Dad's birthday present. I'd walked her through it over the phone, and when her card was declined due to an expired expiration date, I'd offered to make the purchase for her. I'd read her my card number but never imagined she'd written it down and kept it. I need to see exactly who made each charge, I demanded, my voice now shaking with anger more than panic. While the representative researched the transactions, I opened Instagram on my laptop. A sick feeling guided me directly to my sister's profile, where my suspicions were instantly confirmed. There, documented in dozens of filtered photos, was my entire family enjoying a lavish Bali vacation. Mom posing by an infinity pool overlooking the ocean. Dad getting a massage on the beach. Kevin with expensive cocktails and local women at a nightclub. Amanda painting a sunset from the balcony of what was clearly a luxury suite. The most recent photo, posted just 3 hours ago, showed all 4 of them at a beachside dinner with the caption, "Last night in paradise before heading home tomorrow." #blessed, #family vacation, #no regrets. No regrets. The phrase echoed in my mind as bile rose in my throat. The credit card representative returned to the line. "Ms. Richardson, I can confirm that all these charges appear to be made either in person or authorized through your mother's user account. Some online bookings were made from an IP address in Boston before the travel dates, and subsequent charges are coming from Indonesia." I ended the call after learning what options I had for disputing family fraud. Significantly fewer than if this had been a stranger stealing my information. The sick feeling in my stomach transformed into something else. A combination of betrayal, rage, and heartbreak that left me gasping for air on my living room floor. My family hadn't just taken a vacation they couldn't afford, they had stolen from me. They had carefully planned this, made reservations, booked flights, all while knowing they were spending my money without permission. The premeditation made it so much worse than a momentary lapse in judgment. I don't know how long I sat there, scrolling through their smiling vacation photos while my vision blurred with tears. The physical symptoms of my distress intensified. Chest tightening, hands shaking, breath coming in short gasps. I recognized the onset of a panic attack and struggled to control my breathing. My phone rang, cutting through my spiral. Tyler's name appeared on the screen. "Hey, you must be home. How was the flight?" His cheerful voice was a lifeline to normalcy. "They stole from me," I managed to say, my voice barely recognizable. "What? Who? Are you okay? Was your apartment broken into?" "My family," I choked out. "They took my credit cards and spent $30,000 on a vacation to Bali. They're still there now." The silence on the other end spoke volumes before Tyler's voice, now deadly serious, responded, "I'm coming over. Don't do anything until I get there. We'll figure this out together." After hanging up, I stumbled to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face. The woman in the mirror looked foreign to me, pale, with dark circles under red-rimmed eyes. Behind the exhaustion and shock, something else was emerging in my expression. Determination. Resolve. The recognition that what happened next would define my relationship with my family forever. Dawn broke over Boston as I pulled into my parents' driveway the following morning. I hadn't slept, couldn't sleep after discovering what my family had done. Tyler had stayed late, helping me document every fraudulent charge and researching my options, but ultimately, he recognized this confrontation needed to happen in person and alone. Their house looked exactly as it always had. The blue shutters needed painting, Dad's prized rose bushes bloomed along the walkway, and the welcome mat still read, "Home is where the heart is." The irony wasn't lost on me. According to their social media posts, they'd be arriving home from Bali today. A quick check of the flight information showed they'd landed about an hour ago. Enough time to have taken a taxi home, but not enough to have gone to bed after the long journey. They'd be tired, jet-lagged, and unprepared for my arrival. Good. Let them feel a fraction of my disorientation. I'd rehearsed what I would say, but all my planned words evaporated when Mom opened the door, her face still glowing with a tropical tan. "Melissa. What a surprise. We just got back." Her smile faltered as she registered my expression. "Is everything okay, sweetie?" I brushed past her into the living room where luggage sat unopened. A shopping bag from a designer store I could never afford lay open on the coffee table. Did you have a nice vacation? My voice sounded distant, even to my own ears. Mom's expression shifted from confusion to discomfort. Oh, you saw our pictures online? It was a last-minute thing. Your father's been so stressed with his heart concerns. And the doctor said it. Stop lying. The coldness in my tone silenced her instantly. I know exactly how you paid for it. Dad appeared from the kitchen, coffee mug in hand, his face falling as he registered the tension. Melissa, honey, we were going to call you today. To say what, Dad? Thanks for the $30,000 vacation you didn't know you were funding? Or were you finally going to ask for permission after the fact? Mom's defensive posture emerged immediately. Now, Melissa, don't be dramatic. We were absolutely going to pay you back. With what money? I demanded. Your teacher's pension? Dad's Social Security? The money you're still borrowing from me to fix the roof? I pulled out my phone and showed them the credit card statements. This is more than you make in 6 months combined. Dad at least had the decency to look ashamed, sinking into his recliner and staring at his hands. We shouldn't have done it without asking. I told Patricia that. But you did it anyway, I pointed out. You wouldn't have agreed if we'd asked. Mom countered as if that justified their actions. The front door opened and Amanda walked in wearing designer sunglasses that probably cost several $100s, my dollars. Her expression shifted from surprise to defiance when she saw me. Well, I guess the vacation's officially over, she muttered. How could you? I asked her directly. You of all people. Oh, I've helped with rent and bills for years. Amanda dropped her bohemian handbag, another new purchase, I noted, and crossed her arms. Don't act so superior, Melissa. You make more money than all of us combined. You wouldn't even notice $30,000 missing if you checked your accounts regularly. Her entitlement struck me speechless momentarily. The sister I'd bought groceries for when she couldn't afford to eat was now suggesting I was too rich to miss money that had been stolen from me. That's not the point, I finally managed. It wasn't yours to take. We're family, Amanda insisted as if that explained everything. The sound of a sports car pulling into the driveway announced Kevin's arrival. He strode in moments later, still wearing sunglasses indoors like a caricature of success. Family meeting? He asked with forced casualness, assessing the room. I'm guessing baby sister found out about our little trip. Little trip? I echoed incredulously. You stole $30,000 from me. Kevin waved dismissively. Borrowed, not stole. And it was a family emergency. A luxury vacation was an emergency? Mental health is health, Kevin replied smoothly, as if reciting a social media platitude. Dad's been having heart problems. Mom's been caring for him nonstop, Amanda's gallery showing fell through, and my business has been stressful. We needed family healing time. I stared at him, unable to believe what I was hearing. So instead of, going to therapy, or taking a weekend at the Cape, you decided stealing my credit cards and flying first class to Bali was appropriate? When you put it that way. You make it sound bad, Mom interjected. Because it is bad. I shouted, my composure finally breaking. It's illegal. It's credit card fraud. A heavy silence fell over the room before Dad cleared his throat. We'll pay you back, of course. How? When? I demanded. They exchanged glances before Mom spoke. Well, we thought maybe a payment plan. A little each month. A quick mental calculation told me that even if they each contributed a few $100s monthly, which seemed unlikely given their financial histories, it would take years to repay the debt. This isn't about the money, I said, though of course it partially was. It's about trust. It's about respect. After all we've done for you growing up, Mom replied. Her voice taking on the martyred tone I knew well. The sacrifices we made for your education, the support we gave you. I worked through high school and college. I earned scholarships. I paid off my own student loans, I reminded her. There you go again, acting like you did everything yourself, Amanda chimed in. As if having a stable family home meant nothing. They were turning it around on me, making me the villain for being upset about their theft. Classic gaslighting, but I hadn't expected it from my own family. Has this happened before? I asked suddenly, a suspicious thought forming. Have you used my cards for other things I don't know about? Their exchanged glances told me everything. Just small things, Mom admitted. A dinner here, a gift there. Nothing major until now. The betrayal deepened with each revelation. They hadn't just stolen from me once. They'd been doing it systematically, testing boundaries, seeing what they could get away with. I trusted you, I said, my voice breaking. All of you. And you can still trust us, Kevin insisted. We're family. Families help each other. This wasn't helping. This was taking. You're being selfish, Amanda accused. You have more than enough money. And materialistic, Mom added. Choosing money over family. I felt like I'd stepped into an alternate reality where I was somehow the wrong one for objecting to having my credit card stolen. Tears of frustration burned in my eyes. I can't do this right now, I said, grabbing my purse. I need to go before I say something I'll regret. As I walked toward the door, Kevin called after me. Don't make this a bigger deal than it is, Mel. We said we're sorry. But they hadn't, I realized. Not one of them had actually apologized. I drove away with tears streaming down my face, pulling over a few blocks away when it became too difficult to see. I called Tyler. They don't think they did anything wrong, I told him between sobs. They acted like I'm the unreasonable one for being upset. That's insane, Tyler said firmly. They committed fraud, Melissa. That's not a small thing. They said they'd pay me back eventually. But you'll never see that money, he finished for me. Not in full. Tyler's straightforward assessment was painful but accurate. My family had no realistic way to repay such a large sum. You need to take action, he advised gently. Cancel the cards, dispute the charges, report the fraud. But they're my family, I whispered. Family doesn't steal from each other. He reminded me. Family respects boundaries. You teach people how to treat you, Melissa. What are you going to teach them? That question stayed with me as I drove home, the weight of my decision growing heavier with each mile. Sleep eluded me that night. I tossed and turned in my bed, Tyler's question echoing in my mind. What are you going to teach them? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the dismissive expressions on my family's faces, heard their accusations of selfishness, felt the sting of their betrayal fresh again. Around 3 in the morning, I gave up on sleep entirely. Wrapping myself in a blanket, I moved to my home office and began researching my options in depth. Credit card protections against fraud were extensive, but family fraud existed in a gray area. Since I had previously allowed my mother limited access to my card for a specific purchase, the company could argue I had implicitly authorized her as a user. Each company had slightly different policies. My everyday card offered the strongest fraud protection but required filing a police report against my family members to fully dispute the charges. The travel rewards card allowed disputes without involving law enforcement, but would still investigate whether I had implicitly authorized the purchases. My premium card had already confirmed my mother as an authorized user, making those charges the most difficult to dispute. At dawn, I called my friend Rachel, who worked as a corporate attorney. Though not her specific area of expertise, she offered clear-eyed advice about potential consequences. If you file fraud charges, be prepared for potential legal ramifications for your family. She warned. Credit card fraud over $10,000 crosses into felony territory in Massachusetts. I don't want them to go to jail, I admitted. I just want my money back, and for them to understand they can't do this. There might be a middle path, Rachel suggested. Cancel everything still pending, remove them as authorized users, dispute what you can without filing criminal charges, and then decide how to handle the rest based on their reaction. By morning, I'd made my decision. This wasn't just about money. It was about establishing boundaries that should have been set long ago. My family had taken advantage of my generosity repeatedly, and without consequences, the behavior would only escalate. I started methodically, beginning with my premium card. The customer service representative was understanding as I explained the situation in clinical terms. I need to remove an authorized user immediately and cancel this card, I stated firmly. May I ask why you're canceling, Ms. Richardson? You've been a valued cardholder for 7 years. My card information was used without my permission for significant purchases. After verifying my identity, they removed my mother as an authorized user and began the process of disputing the charges. They couldn't guarantee all would be reversed given the circumstances, but noted everything in my account. They issued a new card with a different number and closed the compromised account. I repeated this process with my other 2 cards, each time becoming more confident in my decision. The travel rewards card representative was particularly helpful, flagging the charges as disputed and suggesting I contact any merchants with pending charges directly. Next, I called the resort in Bali. According to my sister's Instagram, my family was scheduled to check out today, but they had booked the hotel for an additional 3 days beyond their planned departure, presumably charging those extra days to my card as well. This is Melissa Richardson, I said when connected to the reservations manager. I believe there's a suite booked under my mother's name, Patricia Richardson. The manager confirmed the reservation and mentioned they had just processed the checkout. I'm calling because those charges were made on my credit card without authorization, I explained. I need to ensure no additional charges are processed for their stay. I see, the manager replied cautiously. The guests have already departed, but there are additional spa services scheduled for tomorrow that haven't been processed yet. Would you like me to cancel those? Yes, please cancel everything associated with that reservation. I moved on to the airlines. My family had booked one-way return tickets for flexibility, meaning their flights home were separate transactions that had already been processed. However, I discovered Kevin had booked additional first-class tickets to continue their journey to Singapore after Bali, clearly planning to extend the vacation even further at my expense. I need to cancel these tickets immediately, I told the airline representative, providing the confirmation numbers I'd found in my email. The Singapore to Boston tickets for 4 passengers? There will be a cancellation fee of. The tickets were purchased fraudulently on my credit card, I interrupted. I did not authorize these charges. This led to a longer conversation and eventually involvement of the airline's fraud department, but ultimately, the tickets were canceled, and the charges were flagged for return to my card. One by one, I shut down every avenue they had to continue using my money. I changed all my passwords, updated security questions to information my family wouldn't know, and set up additional verification steps for any future credit card charges. I froze my credit to prevent any new accounts from being opened in my name. I contacted my bank to place alerts on my checking and savings accounts, explaining the situation to a sympathetic banker who added extra security protocols to my accounts. No transactions over $100 would process without a text confirmation to my phone. My final call was to my boss, Louis, explaining that I was dealing with a personal financial situation that might temporarily impact my credit score. In our industry, financial advisors were often subject to credit checks, as our personal financial management reflected on our professional capabilities. I've been the victim of credit card fraud, I explained vaguely, not specifying that my own family were the perpetrators. I'm handling it, but there might be some unusual activity on my credit report for a while. Louis was understanding, assuring me that as long as I resolved the situation responsibly, it wouldn't affect my standing at the firm. By midday, I had done everything in my power to contain the damage. The only thing left was to inform my family of my actions. After consideration, I decided against calling. They would only try to manipulate me further or make excuses. Instead, I sent a single text message to our family group chat. I've canceled all my credit cards and disputed the unauthorized charges. Any pending reservations or purchases have been canceled. Do not contact me until you're ready to discuss a serious repayment plan and genuine apology. Then I turned off notifications from them, set my phone aside, and finally allowed myself to cry. For the family relationships that would never be the same, for the trust that had been shattered, and for the hard boundary I had finally found the courage to establish. The fallout was immediate and explosive. Within an hour of sending my text, my phone began lighting up with notifications. I had muted the family group chat but not individual messages, which now flooded in at an alarming rate. Mom called 17 times in succession before leaving a voicemail that oscillated between rage and tearful manipulation. Melissa Elizabeth Richardson, how could you do this to your own family? We are stranded in a foreign country. Your father needs his heart medication. Call me back immediately. Her voice cracked with what sounded like genuine panic before shifting. After everything we've sacrificed for you, this is how you repay us? By abandoning us halfway across the world. I fact-checked this claim immediately. According to their social media, they had already checked out of the hotel and posted about landing safely back in Boston. The stranded narrative was pure fabrication designed to trigger my guilt. Kevin's approach was more threatening. You've made a serious mistake, his text read. I've consulted with colleagues in law about abandonment charges. Legal actions have consequences. Call me when you're ready to fix this. I screenshotted this message for Rachel, who confirmed it was a meaningless threat. Abandonment charges? That's not even applicable here. He's bluffing with legal jargon he doesn't understand, she assured me. Amanda took the public route. Within hours, she had posted a lengthy, emotion-laden status update without naming me directly but making the situation unmistakably clear. Heartbroken today. Thought I could trust family, but some people value money over flesh and blood. Stranded with no way home because someone decided material things matter more than people. True colors showing. #betrayed, #heartbroken. The comments filled with sympathetic responses from friends who had no idea of the actual circumstances. Several distant relatives reached out to me directly, asking what was happening, having only heard my family's distorted version of events. I learned later that my parents had been forced to use their emergency savings to book economy flights home when they discovered the first-class tickets to Singapore had been cancelled. The downgrade from luxury travel to basic accommodations became another grievance added to their list of my perceived cruelties. The extended family quickly divided into factions. My maternal grandmother called to express her disappointment in my abandonment of my parents. My uncle Robert, however, reached out with surprising support. "Your mother has always had entitlement issues," he confided. "She did similar things to me years ago. Stand your ground." The stress began affecting my work performance. During an important client meeting, I found myself struggling to focus on their portfolio review, my mind drifting to the latest accusatory texts from my mother or wondering how I would handle the upcoming holiday season. Rachel noticed my distraction during our department meeting and caught me afterward. "Whatever's happening, you look like you haven't slept in days," she observed. "Want to grab coffee and talk about it?" Over lattes at the cafe across from our office building, I finally unburdened myself to someone who wasn't Tyler. To my surprise, Rachel nodded in understanding rather than shock. "My brother did something similar with my emergency credit card," she revealed. "Not quite 30,000, but enough that it took me years to rebuild my credit score." Family financial abuse is more common than people realize. Financial abuse? I repeated. The term feeling simultaneously harsh and perfectly accurate. "That's what it is," Rachel confirmed. "When family members exploit financial resources, it's a form of abuse. The fact they're making you feel guilty for protecting yourself just confirms it." Tyler remained my steadfast support through everything. He never once suggested I should forgive them for the sake of family harmony or implied I was overreacting. Instead, he helped me set up a new credit monitoring service and accompanied me to consultations with the credit card company's fraud departments. Recognizing the emotional toll the situation was taking, I scheduled an appointment with a therapist specializing in family dynamics. Dr. Winters listened to my story without judgment during our first session. "Your family violated your boundaries in a significant way," she observed. "Now they're using emotional manipulation to avoid consequences. That pattern doesn't develop overnight." "I keep wondering if I should have seen this coming," I admitted. "There were smaller incidents. We often minimize concerning behavior from family because we're conditioned to believe family automatically deserves forgiveness," she replied. "Setting boundaries isn't punishing them. It's protecting yourself." The financial impact was substantial but manageable. After weeks of back and forth with the credit card companies, approximately 60% of the charges were reversed as unauthorized. The remaining 40%, roughly $12,000, remained my responsibility due to my mother's status as an authorized user on one card and the difficulty proving the other charges were without implied consent. My credit score dropped 87 points due to the high utilization and fraud alerts, a professional embarrassment for a financial advisor. I created a 6-month plan to rebuild it, cutting expenses and channeling additional funds toward paying down the remaining fraudulent charges. For an entire week, I maintained complete radio silence with my family, focusing instead on my recovery plan. The constant barrage of messages gradually slowed as they realized their manipulation tactics weren't working. Just as I was beginning to feel more centered, Amanda appeared unannounced at my apartment door on a rainy Tuesday evening. "I've been thinking about everything," she began when I reluctantly let her in. Her expression seemed genuinely contrite. "You've always been there for me and I took advantage of that. I'm sorry." For a moment, hope flickered that at least one family member understood the gravity of what they'd done. Then she continued, I was wondering if you could help me with rent this month? The gallery is delaying payment for my pieces, and after the trip, I'm completely tapped out. The audacity was breathtaking. Let me get this straight, I said slowly. You helped steal $30,000 from me, then come asking for more money while I'm still paying off your vacation? It's just until next month, she insisted, missing the point entirely. And it's different, I'm asking this time. I showed her to the door without another word. When my parents returned from their abbreviated Asia tour, they demanded a face-to-face meeting. Against Tyler's advice, I agreed to meet them at a neutral location, a coffee shop downtown. Dad seemed subdued, even remorseful. We handled this badly, he admitted. The first acknowledgement from any of them that they'd done something wrong. The vacation was Patricia's idea, but I went along with it. I should have stood up and said no. Mom, however, remained indignant. You've blown this completely out of proportion, she insisted. We were going to pay you back. Family helps family, that's how it's always been. Taking without asking isn't helping, I countered. It's stealing. Such an ugly word to use about your own mother, she sniffed. The conversation went in circles, with moments of apparent understanding followed by fresh justifications and guilt trips. I left feeling emotionally drained but more certain than ever that I needed firm boundaries with my family. 2 months after discovering my family's betrayal, my apartment no longer felt like the safe haven it once had. I installed a security camera at my front door, not because I feared physical intrusion, but because Amanda had shown up unannounced twice more after I refused to give her rent money. Each time, I declined to answer the door. The financial recovery process taught me lessons I never expected to learn despite my career in financial advising. I now understood the emotional side of money management in a way textbooks and professional training never conveyed. Money wasn't just numbers on a spreadsheet, it represented trust, respect, and boundaries, all things my family had violated. My relationship with my own finances transformed. I closed all my compromised credit card accounts and opened 2 new ones with different companies, keeping one solely for automatic bill payments and online purchases, the other for in-person transactions. I installed a small safe in my apartment for secure storage of financial documents and backup credit cards. Password managers, 2-factor authentication, and regular credit monitoring became part of my routine. The most difficult transformation involved establishing new boundaries with my family. I limited contact to brief text messages, avoiding calls where their voices could trigger my emotions. I declined Sunday dinner invitations, sending polite but firm responses. I'm not ready for family gatherings yet. When financial topics arose, I redirected. I'm not discussing money matters with family anymore. Kevin was the first to approach me with something resembling genuine remorse. 6 weeks after the incident, he asked to meet for coffee, arriving without his usual flashy accessories or overconfident demeanor. I've been seeing a therapist, he confessed. Looking uncomfortable with the admission, she helped me understand how my financial insecurity drives me to make terrible decisions. What we did to you was wrong, not just using your cards, but dismissing your feelings afterward. His apology seemed sincere, though I remained cautious. I appreciate you saying that, Kevin. It means a lot. I can't repay my portion immediately, he continued, but I've worked out a payment plan. He slid an envelope across the table containing a signed agreement to pay $500 monthly until his share was repaid, along with the first payment in cash. Mom maintained her position that I had overreacted to a simple family misunderstanding. She sent lengthy emails explaining why I should get over it and questioning whether my cold-hearted financial advisor personality had overtaken my family loyalty. Each message reinforced that I'd made the right decision in creating distance. Dad attempted reconciliation through small gestures. He'd leave voicemails that carefully avoided the topic altogether, instead sharing innocuous updates about his garden or neighborhood news. Once he showed up at my office building with lunch, sitting awkwardly across from me in the courtyard. Your mother doesn't know I'm here, he admitted. She wouldn't understand. Understand what, Dad? That what we did was wrong. He stared at his sandwich rather than meeting my eyes. I've always gone along with her ideas, even when I knew better. That's on me, not her. His acknowledgement was a step forward, though his continued inability to stand up to Mom meant nothing would really change. Amanda's perspective shifted only after experiencing her own financial crisis. The gallery that had promised to showcase her work closed suddenly, leaving several artists without payment for sold pieces. when she called me in tears. I listened sympathetically but didn't offer financial assistance. "I don't know what to do," she sobbed. "I can't make rent, and my credit cards are maxed out from the trip." "That sounds really stressful," I acknowledged. "What options have you considered?" Rather than immediately solving her problem, I asked questions that guided her toward her own solutions. She eventually took on a part-time job at an art supply store that offered employee discounts on materials and found a more affordable apartment with a fellow artist. "I think I understand a little better now," she told me weeks later. "Having someone take your financial security away feels terrible." Through Rachel's suggestion, I joined an online support group for victims of family financial abuse. The stories shared there helped me realize I wasn't alone and validated my decision to establish firm boundaries. Many members had experienced similar violations followed by the same guilt-inducing tactics my family employed. My friendship with Rachel deepened through our shared experiences. We began meeting weekly for lunch, sometimes discussing our families but often simply enjoying each other's company without the weight of financial responsibility that characterized so many of my relationships. "You know what I noticed?" Rachel mentioned during one of our lunches. "You stopped checking your phone every 5 minutes for family messages. You seem lighter." She was right. The constant anxiety had diminished as I reclaimed control over my finances and emotions. Tyler and I grew closer through the ordeal. He never once suggested I should forgive my family for the sake of peace, instead supporting my boundaries while giving me space to process my complicated feelings. 6 months after the incident, we decided to move in together, a step that felt right despite my lingering trust issues. "I know money is a sensitive topic now," he acknowledged as we discussed combining households. "Whatever makes you comfortable, separate accounts, joint account, detailed agreements, I'm on board." His willingness to work within my new boundaries, rather than challenging them, reinforced that I'd found a true partner. Professionally, I channeled my experience into helping clients establish healthy financial boundaries with family members. I developed a workshop on financial boundaries and relationships that became surprisingly popular at our firm, particularly among clients who supported adult children or aging parents. "The emotional aspects of money are just as important as the technical ones," became my new professional mantra. Without boundaries, even the best financial plan can collapse. When Lewis asked what had inspired this new direction, I finally shared my full story. Rather than judgment, he offered compassion and encouraged me to develop this specialty further. "Many of our clients struggle with these exact issues but are too ashamed to address them directly," he noted. "Your perspective could be invaluable." The annual Richardson family vacation had been a tradition since childhood. When the group text appeared 6 months after the incident, tentatively suggesting a weekend at a lake house rental, I declined politely but firmly. "I'm not ready for extended family time yet, but I appreciate the invitation." The disappointment and guilt trips that followed confirmed I'd made the right choice. I wasn't rejecting my family permanently, but I needed them to understand that rebuilding trust would be a long process, not an overnight reconciliation. Instead, Tyler and I took our own weekend trip to a quiet coastal town, where I realized I could create new traditions that respected my boundaries and values. For the first time in months, I felt genuine peace about my decision to prioritize my well-being over family expectations. 1 year after discovering my family's betrayal, I stood in the kitchen of my new home, a charming townhouse Tyler and I had purchased together in a quiet neighborhood just outside Boston. The morning light streamed through windows that overlooked a small garden where spring flowers were beginning to emerge. This space represented more than just a physical dwelling. It symbolized my journey toward independence and healthier boundaries. My credit score had fully recovered, even surpassing its previous level due to my meticulous financial management over the past year. The new protections I'd implemented, regular credit monitoring, additional verification steps for large purchases, and separate accounts for different purposes, had become second nature rather than anxiety-driven precautions. My relationships with my family members had evolved into something I never could have predicted. Kevin had maintained his monthly payments without fail, gradually rebuilding a foundation of trust between us. Our interactions remained primarily focused on casual topics rather than deep emotional connections. But the consistent follow-through on his financial commitment spoke volumes. "I've been thinking about what happened," he mentioned during a recent lunch meeting. "That vacation was just a symptom of how I've approached money my whole life. wanting to appear successful without doing the work to actually be successful. His self-awareness surprised me. "That's insightful, Kevin. My therapist deserves the credit," he admitted with a self-deprecating smile. "I'm learning to align my spending with my actual values instead of trying to impress people." Amanda and I had established a new relationship based on mutual respect, rather than financial dependence. Her part-time job had evolved into a full-time position managing the art supply store, providing stable income alongside her artistic pursuits. When she sold 3 paintings at a small gallery showing, she made a point of contributing $500 toward her portion of the debt without being asked. "I know it's not much compared to what I owe," she acknowledged, "but it's a start." "It's the consistency that matters," I told her, recognizing the significance of her gesture. My relationship with my parents remained the most complicated. Dad made regular efforts to connect, often stopping by with small gifts or offering to help with projects around the new house. His quiet attempts at reconciliation never directly addressed the theft, but his consistent presence indicated remorse in his own way. Mom maintained limited contact, still convinced she had done nothing wrong. Occasionally, she would reach out with carefully worded messages that avoided any mention of the incident while suggesting I should move past it. "Life's too short to hold grudges against family." She texted on my birthday alongside a gift card to a store I rarely shopped at. "We miss having you at Sunday dinners." I responded with polite gratitude for the gift but didn't engage with the implied pressure to resume our previous relationship patterns. The distance between us was no longer painful but protective, a necessary boundary that preserved my well-being. Our family interactions had evolved into carefully choreographed events with clear parameters. I would join them for major holidays but declined weekly gatherings. Financial topics remained strictly off-limits, a boundary I enforced by immediately changing the subject or, if necessary, leaving the conversation entirely. New family traditions emerged that didn't involve money or material expectations. Instead of exchanging expensive gifts at Christmas, we started a tradition of sharing memorable experiences from the year or creative projects we'd completed. These interactions felt more authentic than the gift-giving competitions that had previously characterized our celebrations. Tyler proposed on a crisp autumn evening while we walked through the Arnold Arboretum, the fall foliage creating a perfect backdrop for the beginning of our next chapter together. The diamond was modest but meaningful, selected with consideration for both aesthetics and financial responsibility. "I want to build a life with you based on honesty and respect," he said as he knelt before me, "including financial honesty and respect." His acknowledgement of my past wounds made the moment even more special. We discussed a prenuptial agreement openly and without defensiveness, both recognizing it as a practical protection rather than a lack of trust. My professional life flourished as I leaned into my newfound specialty of helping clients navigate complex family financial dynamics. I developed a workshop series called Boundaries, Budgets, and Family Balance that became one of our firm's most requested programs. During one such workshop, a client approached me afterward with tears in her eyes. "My son has been draining my retirement accounts for years," she confessed. "I've been too ashamed to tell anyone or stop him." Drawing from my own experience, I helped her develop a plan to secure her remaining assets and establish clear boundaries with her son. Weeks later, she reported back that while the conversations had been difficult, she finally felt in control of her financial future again. "You saved me from financial ruin," she told me gratefully. "No," I corrected her gently. "You saved yourself by having the courage to set boundaries." The blog I started about financial independence and family boundaries gained unexpected traction, particularly among women who struggled with similar situations. Writing about my experience, anonymized to protect my family's privacy, became a form of therapy and a way to help others recognize patterns before they escalated to the extent mine had. My promotion to senior advisor came with an office overlooking Boston Harbor and a client list that increasingly included individuals specifically seeking help with family financial entanglements. Lewis frequently referred complex cases to me, acknowledging that my personal experience provided insights beyond technical financial knowledge. "You've turned a personal tragedy into a professional strength," he observed during my performance review. "That's remarkably resilient." The painful process of setting boundaries had yielded unexpected benefits. By clearly defining what I would and wouldn't accept from relationships, I attracted people who respected those boundaries and distanced those who didn't. My circle became smaller but infinitely more supportive. I accepted that some relationships might never fully heal. Mom would likely never acknowledge the harm she'd caused or take responsibility for her actions. Dad would continue trying to please everyone without taking a firm stand. These realizations brought sadness but also freedom from the exhausting effort of trying to change them. The most profound transformation was internal. I no longer tied my self-worth to being the family problem solver or financial safety net. I learned that saying no didn't make me selfish but self-respecting. I discovered that family love shouldn't require financial sacrifice or boundary violations. One evening, as Tyler and I hosted a small dinner party with Rachel and a few close friends, I realized I felt something I hadn't experienced in a long time: peace. Not just the absence of conflict, but genuine contentment with the life I'd rebuilt. A toast, Tyler suggested, raising his glass, to boundaries that protect and freedom that heals. As our glasses clinked together, I silently acknowledged how far I'd come from that devastating moment of discovery a year ago. The journey hadn't been easy, but it had led me to a place of greater authenticity and self-respect. What would you do if someone you loved betrayed your trust in such a fundamental way? Would you have the courage to establish boundaries even when others call you selfish for doing so? The hardest lessons often become our greatest strengths. And sometimes the most loving thing we can do, for ourselves and others, is to say no when necessary and yes to our own well-being. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If my story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more authentic life experiences. Share this video with someone who might need permission to set their own boundaries. Remember, protecting yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary for a healthy, balanced life. Until next time, take care of your heart and your finances.